Hello everyone, I'm Đức Trung with VTV International. This is the English Bulletin VTV News coming to you live from Hanoi. First, let's get you up to date with the headlines. Vietnam's National Assembly discusses the revised law on construction. Foreign investors are positive about long-term investments in Vietnam's economy. Later, let's take a look at a few films about the East Sea and filmmakers' passion for this subject. On to the first update of the hour. National Assembly deputies discussed the revised law on construction on Saturday. They agreed on a need to comprehensively revise the law on construction to address its shortcomings. In particular, they said it is necessary to add stricter and more specific regulations in the draft law to better control planning permission. With regard to improving the effectiveness of the state's management of basic construction, the deputies said there was a need to strengthen state agencies' inspection of designs, estimates, and appraisals of construction projects in order to prevent waste and ensure the quality and cost of construction. They added that administrative procedures to get construction licenses should be simplified to facilitate businesses and people. In the afternoon, the deputies discussed the revised law on real estate and the draft law on public investment. Overseas Vietnamese and foreigners can now purchase houses in Vietnam according to the currently discussed amendment law on construction by the National Assembly. More details in the following report.
The amended law on constructions will allow overseas Vietnamese and foreigners to own houses in Vietnam for over 50 years with several limitations.
In any residential area or apartment complex, there will be a 30% limit on the number of houses owned by overseas Vietnamese and foreigners to keep a balanced and harmonious living community.
For overseas Vietnamese currently living abroad, there will be no limitations on the number of houses owned by each individual. However, at present, many overseas Vietnamese seem to be concerned over the policy procedures in Vietnam.
I hope there will be stricter amendments to ensure the rights of overseas Vietnamese in case of ownership conflicts, just as the case in countries where we are currently living. Here, house owners are fairly protected.
Currently, there are more than 300,000 foreigners living in Vietnam and about 5 million overseas Vietnamese. If the amended law is approved, the domestic real estate market will be bustling with new flows of foreign investment, which is expected to raise the total trade value of the market up to 10 to 15%. However, some experts are concerned that competitions with foreign investors will limit the chances of Vietnamese people becoming house owners.
We are concerned about the market competition as foreign investors will be more financially competent than domestic investors. However, we will work to develop strategies to strengthen our competitiveness.
The National Assembly is continuing discussions on details of the amended law before its final approval.
Vietnam's May Consumer Price Index, or CPI, rose 0.2% over April and 4.72% from a year ago, the General Statistics Office, or GSO, announced on May the 24th. The CPI for May edged up slightly due to relatively stable prices of essential products globally and a sufficient supply of food and foodstuff. Notably, 10 out of the 11 consumer goods and services groups registered price hikes during the month, ranging from 0.01% to 0.43%. The highest rise of 0.43% was recorded in the housing and construction materials group, which comes on the back of the central bank's recent launch of a preferential credit package for the property market. The educational group experienced the lowest rise of an inconsequential 0.01%, while post and telecommunication services posted a decrease of 0.03%, attributable to increased competition in the market. In light of recent tensions in the East Sea and the violence in Hà Tĩnh, Đồng Nai and Bình Dương provinces, some people are concerned that investment capital to Vietnam will be adversely affected. However, reality does not bear these fears out. In fact, current investment into Vietnam remains stable and in some cases has even broken a few records.
Since the start of May, foreign investors have disbursed the highest amount of capital ever into the Vietnamese stock market. $100,000 million is just within 10 days.
We're long-term investors in Vietnam, and in fact, we see that over the last few years it has been very difficult, but we've seen that the government's done a very good job of actually stabilising the economy, and we're seeing signs of growth and stability arising again.
Figures released by the State Stock Commissions of Vietnam show that from May 8th to present, foreign investors spent as much as 50% of the total net expenditures from the beginning of this year, which indicates that the issue has not affected spending by foreign investors. The World Bank assessed Vietnam as a stable nation on all three grounds: economy, politics, and society. Investors' faith in Vietnamese business environment will therefore remain unaffected by short-term events.
I think improving the business environment still needs to continue on several fronts. We talk a lot about the red tape, government bureaucracy, and so on. So that there's still a lot of work to be done. And my understanding is that VCCI is going to be proposing a new set of administrative reforms. And certainly that is something that would help.
Major international organizations such as the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank have committed to join hands with Vietnamese authorities to improve the medium and long-term investment environment.
After 2 consecutive months of declining consumer price index, or CPI, Ho Chi Minh City has witnessed a slight rise of 0.36% for this figure in May. Experts say that this increase in CPI reflects authorities' positive practices in macroeconomic management, especially in curbing inflation.
Statistics show that the CPI rise of 0.36% in Ho Chi Minh City is attributable to price increases in 7 commodity baskets, 2 baskets with prices remaining unchanged, and another 2 with reduced prices. Food costs and restaurant services recorded the biggest month-on-month increase at 0.721%. Experts believe the adjustment in oil and gas prices in April also partially resulted in this CPI hike.
This shows a positive sign for economic recovery, and it has yet to establish itself as a clear trend.
A rise in CPI, though not yet stable, does indicate positive changes. This shows that the government's efforts to stabilize the macroeconomy, curb inflation, and restructure the economy as a whole are creating the conditions necessary for growth. Together with CPI, other indices and rates, including GDP, FDI, and credit growth, are also rising.
We've had better mechanisms to access businesses. Using these, we have identified consistently low-performing businesses and urged them to change their operation models or strategies.
Price-stabilized goods have also played a significant role in this month's CPI rise. According to Ho Chi Minh City's Department of Industry and Trade, the supply of price-stabilized goods in May rose by 25% compared to the forecasted plan.
Enterprises in Ho Chi Minh City have adequately supplied price-stabilized goods to supermarkets. These goods were offered at relatively low prices, thus helping to stabilize prices.
Experts forecast CPI will continue to rise in the next 6 months following the government's flexible macroeconomic management measures, especially favorable tax policies and other incentives.
Quảng Nam province has made efforts to further develop its textile industry, seeking to expand the province's activities in the global market. The province is particularly keen on attracting firms producing raw materials for the Vietnamese textile industry to invest in Quảng Nam.
Embracing opportunities from the TPP agreement, Quảng Nam is pursuing a proactive strategy to welcome investors. The province will support 100% of premises costs, provide workforce training, trade promotion, as well as investment credit for enterprises who invest in the rural mountainous area of Quảng Nam.
Since 2013, the Province People's Committee has been collaborating with Vinatex, Vietnam's national textile and garment group, to examine areas where factories are located. We are also paying attention to raw cotton, and we have selected the area for cotton planting in Đại Hồng commune.
Vietnam's textile and garment industry has seen a surge in investment recently. This has been encouraged by the mechanisms put in place in the province to attract investors. Businesses have also made a great effort to improve product quality in order to increase exports when the TPP agreement is signed. The TPP agreement will allow greater freedom to negotiate, and almost all tariffs will be slashed by at least 90%.
The TPP opens up both advantages and challenges. Currently, we have 3 big factories in planning and other industrial clusters ready to join the TPP. Phu Ninh has also planted 150 hectares of clean land for manufacturing industries and 7,000 hectares of forest, which Phu Ninh intends to use to attract agricultural processing.
Vietnam needs to have all the prerequisites in place for total textile production, including weaving and dyeing. In Vietnam, the textile support industries are still very weak, and so the government, as well as other companies, are seeking investment in this area. According to experts within the textile industry, Vietnam has a lot of opportunities to develop in this regard. While the Western European textile market has slowed down, the Asian market is still growing strong. Furthermore, the benefits from the free trade agreement, which reduces tariffs of Vietnamese exports to Europe to 0%, as well as the future benefits from the TPP agreement, will open up more advantages for Vietnamese textile exports.
In the latter half of our bulletin, Vũng Áng Economic Zone resumes operation following recent disruptive incidents in the area. And later, let's take a look at a few films about the East Sea and filmmakers' passion for the subject. Stay tuned for more updates coming up next after a short break.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
Welcome back to VTV News live from Hanoi. In an update to the East Sea tension between Vietnam and China, the situation in Vietnam's waters, where China has illegally installed oil rig Haiyang Shiyou 981, remains tense. On Friday, VTV correspondents reporting from a fishery control ship recorded the continued aggression from Chinese ships. At around 8 p.m. on the same day, 2 Chinese ships fired their water cannon on Vietnam Fish Control Ship number 630. This aggressive action damaged the ship, completely disabling its electrical system. So far, 12 members of the Vietnam Fish Control Force have been injured because of hostile actions by Chinese ships. Updates on the Vũng Áng Economic Zone following the recent disruptive incidents reveal that so far over 5,000 workers have returned to work in their factories. The Formosa project has also returned to its normal production activities. Local authorities here have aided the resumption of commercial operation by creating optimum conditions and supporting mechanisms for the economic zone.
Currently, there are 50 companies from different nations, including China, the Republic of Korea, Belgium, and Vietnam, operating as a Formosa project in the Vũng Áng Economic Zone. After several days of Võ Hoài Nam, a worker at the project, is now returning to work along with many of his colleagues.
We feel reassured getting back to work. Now we understand the problems and will encourage each other not to follow bad examples. The company has done its best to assist me in getting back to work. I'll also explain to my colleagues that things are okay now so they could come back.
According to the Board of Management at the Formosa project, the number of laborers coming back to work continue to rise ever since the government committed to tightening security and safety at the project and throughout the region. In another stabilizing factor for the area, tax and insurance policies has been adjusted to maintain regional stability and security.
Local authorities are serious about maintaining security for production, investment, and upholding the workers' living standards, especially the Chinese workers. We have called for locals and national budgets to compensate for the losses of companies affected by the recent incident.
Together with the authorities' efforts, enterprises are also drafting solutions to handle the problems and resume normal activities.
We have developed several solutions focusing on encouragement. We have to let them know what is allowed by law and what is not, so that the workers will have faith in a full recovery. Public communication has been enhanced to raise awareness of the workers.
The Formosa project is rushing to complete several of its important construction projects. With the collaborations of the government and the enterprise community, production activities are expected to make a full recovery in the near future.
Authorities in Bình Dương Southern Province held a meeting on Friday with their subordinates at relevant organizations as well as representatives from insurance companies in the area to listen to damage reports of the recent incidents which affected enterprises. According to the organization's reports, so far, most of the affected enterprises have resumed operations. The statistics on the damage to the enterprises up till now have been completed. The insurance companies also reported that they have surveyed the damage to 73 enterprises which signed contracts with them. Regarding their duties, the Departments of Customs and Tax have also promptly assisted the enterprises in terms of procedures so that they can resume production. At the meeting, Bình Dương authorities once again confirmed their strong support of the affected enterprises and said they would resolve the situation as soon as possible. In other news, Lisan Island's electricity project is 40% complete after 2 months of installation. The remote island off the central province of Quảng Ngãi will soon receive power from the national grid via an underwater cable line. The project, which will cost 625 billion Vietnamese dong, or about $30 million, involves the installation of a 9-kilometer medium voltage overhead line in Bình Sơn district, along with a 27-kilometer undersea cable system that transfers electricity directly from the mainland to the island. The Italian-based Prysmian Power Link Group and the Hải Dương company in Vietnam are the project's contractors. Installation of the underwater cable line is scheduled to begin in August and should be completed by October this year. The Vietnam Electricity Corporation also recently presented gifts worth about $25,000 to Lisan Islanders. The East Sea has always been an inspiring location for Vietnamese filmmakers, with many documentaries, TV series, and motion pictures featuring the area. The following report will take a look at the love that Vietnamese filmmakers have for the East Sea.
Đầu Sóng Ngọn Gió, a documentary produced by Ngọc Quỳnh in 1967, honors the spirit of the Vietnamese who sacrificed their lives to protect the country's sovereignty. The East Sea has been an inspiring topic ever since the early days of Vietnamese cinema.
We make these movies to show domestic and international viewers the beauty of Vietnam and of the Vietnamese people. In our movies, viewers can also see the soldiers who are guarding Vietnamese islands day and night.
Many films have realistically documented the lives of Vietnamese fishermen, such as Đào Thanh Tùng,'s Biển của người Việt or Vietnam Sea. Some films even feature foreigners whose love of Vietnam can be seen through their lifelong advocacy, as was depicted in the film Under Miras of Vietnamese.
Andre's Vietnamese name is Hồ Cương Quyết. He loves Vietnam as much as he loves his life and as much as he loves his motherland, France. If one Frenchman can love Vietnam that much, why can't we?
Ký sự biển đảo, or Sea Documentary, a 35-episode series produced by the Vietnam Border Defense Force and Vietnam Television, brought the viewing audience closer to the lives of soldiers who protect Vietnam's seaboard. The documentary also provided historical, geological, cultural, and social information about the East Sea.
Throughout the process of filming, we learn stories about the people and the islands. Some are secrets hidden at the bottom of the ocean, some are mysterious, and some are historical facts.
Many documentary films have gone into detail about Vietnam's sovereignty over the Pearsall and Spratly archipelagos, providing historical and legal proof. Although they belong in different genres, all these films serve the same purpose of showing the Vietnamese people's love of the sea, as well as their will to protect it.
Moving on now to other news. In response to the Vietnam Science and Technology Day, the Vietnam Water Resources Association held a seminar on green technology on Saturday. The focus of the seminar was applicable solutions in construction and environmental protection. The conference highlighted the advantages of green technology, including the use of ecological embankments in irrigation, traffic, construction, environmental protection, and forestation. This solution also helps reduce damage caused by natural disasters and the effects of climate change. Ecological embankments, which are made from polypropylene, can withstand UV radiation, prevent water runoff and soil erosion. Moreover, it can be used in any weather condition and last for at least 8 years. This green technology has already been applied successfully in Taiping Northern Province. Up next, in Unusual Sunday Activities, we're going to give you a quick overview of highlighted events from the past week.
Prime Minister Nguyen Tân Dũng has said that Vietnam would resolutely defend its sovereignty and legitimate interests because territorial sovereignty, including over its maritime zones and islands, is sacred. The Prime Minister made the statement in response to questions from the Associated Press and Reuters on the current developments in the East Sea and Vietnam's measures following China's illegal deployment of an oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone. Dũng was in Manila for the World Economic Forum on East Asia 2014 and to visit leaders of the Philippines. Prime Minister Dũng stated, quote, "We are never the first to use military means and would never unilaterally start a military confrontation unless we were forced to take self-defense actions," end of quote. Like all countries, Vietnam was considering various defense options, including legal action, in accordance with international law, he said.
The U.S. said it would back Vietnam in taking legal actions to solve the case of China's illegal installations of its drilling rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. Addressing the press on May the 22nd U.S. time, the White House spokesperson Patrick Ventral said the U.S. supports the use of peaceful measures to address the current tensions in the East Sea.
According to Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lê Hải Bình, since the previous press conference on May the 7th on China's illegal placement of Haiyang Shio 981 in Vietnam's waters, Vietnam has shown utmost restraint and exhausted on peaceful measures, opportunity and dialogue channels to settle the issue in a peaceful manner. On the contrary, China has continued sending its ships, including military vessels and military aircraft, to the area surrounding its oil rig to threaten and intimidate Vietnamese law enforcement forces who are carrying out their mission of protecting the country's sovereignty, he said.
U.S. Secretaries of State John Kerry discussed the situation in the EC by telephone with Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Phạm Bình Minh on Wednesday. He spoke highly of Vietnam's restraint. He said this was reflected in the persistent use of peaceful solutions and dialogue, preventing the escalations of tensions. Kerry expressed deep concern about developments, saying that China's installations of the oil rig in the East Sea was a provocative act that raised tensions in the region. He reaffirmed the U.S. stance on the peaceful settlements of disputes in the East Sea on the basis of international law, including the 1982 UNCLOS.
The 8th ASEAN Defense Minister meeting kicked off on Tuesday in Myanmar. At the event, the defense ministers discussed cooperation plans and peaceful measures to the problems in the region, including escalating tension in the East Sea. Vietnamese Defense Minister General Phùng Quang Thanh headed the Vietnamese delegation to the event. The delegates talked about the illegal installation of Chinese oil rig Haiyang Shio 981 in Vietnam Exclusive Economic Zone and Continental Shelf. They showed their concern over the growing tensions in the East Sea and confirmed to make the best effort to find peaceful means to resolve the issue. The ministers also discussed and adopted the regional defense cooperation plans for the 2014-2016 period.
A conference was held on Tuesday morning in Hanoi to review 10 years of implementing the Politburo's Resolution No. 36 on overseas Vietnamese. The decade since the implementations of Resolution No. 36 was reviewed at the conference, while future prospects for policies related to the overseas Vietnamese community were also drafted. The party and the nation has always recognized the roles of 4.5 million Vietnamese living overseas and their important roles in developing Vietnam. After 10 years of carrying out Resolution No. 36, overseas Vietnamese have increasingly been welcomed as an integral part of Vietnam, and there has been increasing opportunities for them to contribute to creating a better Vietnam.
The 7th session of the National Assembly officially opened this Tuesday in Hanoi. Addressing the opening ceremony, National Assembly Chairman Nguyễn Sinh Hùng said that the participating deputies would consider and approve 11 draft laws, in addition to several decrees and ordinances in the coming year. National Assembly delegates will also work on an amendment to Resolution No. 35 on conducting the votes of confidence for people holding positions elected by the National Assembly and People's Councils. The National Assembly chairman also emphasized that the participating deputies would talk about the EC issue on the session's agenda, as well as hearing the government's reports on the implementation of socio-economic development in 2013. They will also give feedback to 16 other bills. Later, the National Assembly would hold a Q&A session with the government's members.
And now it's time for us to take a look at today's weather forecast. This is the end of VTV News for this hour. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now from Hanoi.